Back to the Asian region now, and tomorrow marks a second meeting in Jakarta for peak business groups from Australia and Indonesia to develop their joint business aspirations. One Aussie company that has been on the ground in Indonesia for 2 decades now is Coca-Cola Amatil, and its chief executive, Terry Davis, has been talking up the very big market of our closest neighbour. I spoke to him earlier. Terry Davis, welcome to the programme.
Thanks, Ziggy.
Now, CCA had very solid results last month. How are we travelling now? Because I think sales growth has come off a little bit, hasn't it?
Well, I think what we saw in that May-June period was that artificial stimulus by the government handouts, and certainly the third quarter right across Australia, if you look at the retail numbers, have been pretty soft, and we've seen a continuation of that.
So you think that's going to carry on through the year?
No, I suspect that I think everybody will be waiting with bated breath about the next decision by the Reserve Bank about interest rates, and I'm sure that we're all hoping that there's a cut in interest rates, hopefully to take a little bit of pressure off the dollar and also to put a little bit more money in people's pockets.
Let me turn to Indonesia now, where you seem to be on a little bit of a mission. Are you're surprised at the lack of understanding and investment by Australian companies in Indonesia? Why do you think this is?
I haven't actually been able to work out. You know, I was asked by some people the other day this, and I said maybe we've been seduced by China, that so much energy and attention has gone into the Chinese market that we've forgotten this near neighbour of 240 million people, of which 60% of them are under the age of 39. So an amazing demographic, particularly for products for companies like ours. I think the pace of the social, economic and political reform by the Yudhoyono government has also surprised a lot of people on the upside too. So we're now getting an awakening of you know, what will be a superpower. There's no doubt about that.
So where are Australian companies now? I mean, what sort of other companies, apart from CCA, leading the charge up there?
Well, you've started to see the Commonwealth Bank and the ANZ make greater investments up there. I think Leighton's have been up there for quite a long time. Not a lot of publicly listed companies, certainly in the consumer goods space. I think Goodman Fielder have been there, but in a very small way.
Well, again, that would seem surprising, given that you've got all those consumers.
Yeah, it is. It is to me too. We've been there for 20-odd years, and we find it a fascinating country to do business in, and a very good country to do business in.
What about the investment climate there? I mean, you've got, I think it's a 25% corporate tax rate, so that's attractive. Are there lots of challenges with it?
Well, look, any developing country will have challenges in terms of how you go to market, what you have to do, the training that you have to give people. But we found the Indonesians to be really willing people. You know, it's a fallacy to think that developing countries aren't smart, and this one is certainly smart.
What about the ease of doing business, I suppose? Things like infrastructure, red tape?
Infrastructure's terrible. You know, there's no doubt that the transport, particularly around the big cities, is very, very poor. Power, there's just not enough power in the country to satisfy the growing demand. So, look, it's not without its fair share of challenges, but that also gives you opportunities as well.
Tell me about CCA's growth within Indonesia.
Well, we had 19% growth in profits for the first half of this year. We'd be expecting something similar for the second half, so double-digit volume growth, strong revenue growth. You're just getting to a point where the GDP per capita growth has been so strong that you're getting people who can afford to buy commercial beverage, and we're certainly benefiting from that.
In terms of improving our engagement with Indonesia, what do you think both the Australian government and the Indonesian government could do to assist?
Well, I think the very first thing is that we should make it much easier for Indonesians to come and study here, particularly doing the university degree, so that they get the benefits of understanding what the Australian culture is, and hopefully these will be the business leaders and the political leaders in the next 10 to 20 years, and make it easier for us to bring in people to train, to bring in Indonesians to train in Australia, so that again the same exercise, that we can impart some of the knowledge that we've got back into Indonesia. The Indonesian government's up for it. I'm not sure whether the Australian government is.
Well, this is a sensitivity, isn't it? Because are they just coming in on some sort of training visa, or do they come and stay and, you know?
Yeah, well, this is our nearest neighbour, and there's 240 million of them. I think we can't just engage, but we also have to embrace as well.
You must speak to all sorts of people up there. How damaging has the live export decision been, and the ramifications of that been?
Well, I guess that's really for others to comment on, but there's no doubt that from an Australian cattle exporters, you know, they were fairly horrific shots that we saw on ABC, and you wouldn't want to see that happen. But on the other hand, you have to manage these things from inside the tent rather than sort of coming in heavy-handed. I don't think that there's long-term damage done, but there's certainly some short-term bridges that have to be repaired.
You've been teasing the market a little recently about potentially being a third player in the beer sector in Australia. Are we really going to see a big force next year?
Well, our restraint with SAB Miller finishes in December next year, and we'll obviously honour that. We've recently entered into a joint venture with Casella down in Griffith, and that we'll be producing beer on December the 17th, 2013.
I've got sort of feelings about, you know, there's only ever one Alan Bond, and you know, with these sales and buybacks, could there be another one?
Well, who knows? I think that you know, if the strike price for Foster's had been an acceptable strike price, we'd still be in the beer business today. But it wasn't for us, and it was for SAB Miller. So we were very happy with the price that we got for our share of the joint venture.
You sure were.
Just as happy to be back into the business in December next year too.
Terry Davis, very good to talk to you.
Thanks, Dee Dee.